Welcome back to One of the Trenches podcast. I'm Johnny Jones. He's Patches Kaplan. We're here to break down the best and worst of week 2 and then preview week 3. What's going on, Patch?
Hey, Johnny, crazy week 2. You know what they
Oh,
always
yeah.
say is the week that you don't expect always has the best football.
Oh,
And
my
I'm not going to
God.
say this was the best football, but gosh, there was some really good games this
It was
weekend.
entertaining.
Oh, it was entertaining.
Yeah.
In a lot of questionable calls. I think some coaches are probably getting pretty nervous right now. But ultimately, I think it was a massive setup going into week 3, which, I'm holding my notes here, and I think I have 9 games on our list to preview. We're not even going to jump into
Yeah.
that yet, but a little bit of a recap here. We had 6 games to go over, Johnny.
Yep.
Iowa versus ISU, Iowa
You,
State.
you want to go game by game?
I'm going to read them off real quick.
Okay.
Illinois versus Duke at Duke, Baylor versus SMU, Kansas at Mizzou, USF at Florida, Michigan at OU. Michigan at OU was College Game Day. It was the big one of the week. So for reference, you had another outstanding week. You went 5 for 6.
Yeah.
You are absolutely on fire, and you have the
Let's
Cheesecake
go.
Factory. So
That's
I'm
a
starting
back
to get a
there.
little bit of sweats underneath my arms because I don't know if I can feed you with how much you eat.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing about the two small spreads, those two games I picked. Like
They
the
are. They are. That's
Miami Notre Dame was a
one
spike.
touchdown away from me catching up. But
Yeah.
last year you were very promising. I think you hit like 40% on that Cheesecake Factory picks.
Last year I did way better just picking underdogs than I did against the spread. I got smoked last year against the spread.
Yeah, I'm struggling tremendously right now against the spread. I just can't see the board, and I don't think this week's going to be much better. Every
Uh,
spread I thought was going to be bigger is not.
and then the
But
reverse.
yeah, Iowa played exactly how we thought it would.
Rock
Rocco
fight.
played, a very gritty game. I really like the way Iowa State is playing. Do I think that they have enough juice to win the Big 12 versus the other big dogs right now?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
this was an absolute rock fight. Crazy stat. This was the first time Iowa State won at home in this rivalry since 2011, which is pretty crazy.
That is
It shows
crazy.
you how good of a job Kirk Ferentz has done this past 10 years. Well, I have a lot to say about him later. But you're right. I was impressed by Iowa State. I was pretty down right after the game, and then we kind of texted a little bit about it. And you shed some good light on it about like sometimes these rivalry games, it's all about just getting out of it.
Yeah.
If you're Iowa State, you got pulled into a rock fight, but you did what you had to do. Rockoback wasn't perfect. He did everything he needed to win. I do totally agree. I think they don't have enough just kind of juice on offense to carry them through the Big 12. There's a lot of high powered offenses, Baylor, Texas Tech, and I don't know if they can hang with those guys scoring. But they do
No,
have good defense.
I think you're spot on. I think it's going to when they get to the Big 12 championship, because I do think that they make the Big 12 championship. I have a feeling it's going to look a lot like 2021 Iowa State versus Oklahoma, where they just like simply could not keep up.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
and
what
the
scares me.
offenses in the Big 12 need to get some respect on their names. I'm excited for interconference play because I
Yeah.
think that's going to do some serious damage. Um, sorry,
Are you good?
spilled my Coke Zero all over Tiana's art stuff. So that one's a
No.
massive mistake on my end, but we'll keep moving. I think that ISU is a very high quality team, but I am just so impressed by both Texas Tech and Utah. Both
And
smashing their spreads, dropping over 55 points a pop.
dude,
They look both dangerous.
Baylor too. Sawyer Robertson is. Yeah, I think it's like back to back games he's thrown
Yeah.
like over 400. Like
On the
crazy.
flip side of what you said about Iowa State, Johnny, do you think that there's a little bit of that play in Baylor where they knew it was like truly do or die? We got to get through this weird one and then we'll be fine. Because I feel like Baylor almost overplayed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I think they knew they couldn't start the season off 0-2 before getting into conference play.
Yeah.
That's why I picked him for the cheesecake. Like I thought this was such a do or die moment for Dave Aranda, and you know, they did everything they needed to do. I do still love Kevin Jennings. I love that SMU team. I just don't think this is the year. Obviously, it's easy to say now, but I think we were on a similar page before the season. Like, great player from last year. I still think they have a lot of work to do recruiting in the portal. They have the money in Dallas, so I think this is a team to kind of buy some stock in the next 5 years. But I think we're a little too early.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. These out of conference games were so aggressive this week. It was
Yeah.
awesome to see the SEC Big Ten matchups. We had ACC and AAC matchups. We had Big 12 SEC matchups. It was just so entertaining. Obviously, you had some duds and you had some teams that were in look ahead spots and fallback spots. You know, teams like LSU coming off a great win against Clemson kind of fell back, only put up 25 points against
Yeah, like
ULM.
23-7, something like
In
that.
in Georgia, I think barely put up 30. You know,
They didn't look great. They haven't
oh,
looked great this
no,
season.
no, I don't think they're them. I don't think they're
Yeah,
them.
I don't. I think something's off.
And it's crazy when you say that because teams that can just get by, but when you're at the Georgia caliper, you can't just get by. But like we can
No.
say that about Baylor, we can say that about Florida, we can say it about other teams. But yeah, the other one that you and I really should have taken out a loan on our cars and put it on was Illinois. That was
Illinois.
the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. I saw
I
the
don't.
line on Sunday morning and I said, dude, I'm going to empty my wallet. All $6.52 in my wallet is going on Illinois. It was so easy. I had to convince multiple people. There was not a second where I was concerned about the spread or the money line of that game.
Yeah, I don't know. Brett Bielema has done a great job coaching this team because they're so consistent. And what you like to see out of a team like Illinois is like if you make a mistake, if you turn the ball over, they jump down your throat. You can't make mistakes against a team like that. Also, what Luke Altmaier is doing this season is something that I think college football has gotten away from, and it's sad to see. You still see a little bit, like you see it with Drew Aller too, where it's like Luke Altmaier's a guy
There
who's
it is again.
a
Always bringing
third.
him in.
He's or no, listen to the tape.
He's a bad
He's
example, Johnny.
he's a 3-year starter, Altmaier. In every single year, he's improved. And that, like Luke, like what was his problem freshman year, Altmaier? Too many turnovers. Yeah. Last year, good, got rid of the turnovers, just wasn't highly efficient. This year, we've seen the best version of Altmaier, efficient, no turnovers. But like that's Illinois investing in him and saying, "Hey, you're our guy. We're gonna watch you get better." And now you just see guys, teams buying guys in the portal, and sometimes it works great. We trashed him last year, but look at it worked well with Will Howard, and the other times it doesn't. You get a 1-year guy, and it kind of just burns up in flames. But like I just love to see Illinois investing in a guy like Luke Altmaier, and then it's really paying off.
It's got to be incredibly easy to recruit when you do that because if you say, "Hey, look at Luke's stats last year."
Yeah,
we know they're going to be better. We've surrounded him with better players, more talented offensive linemen. You know, it would not be easy to outcompete people in recruiting when you have that type of talent versus, hey, I have no idea who our quarterback's going to be. I have no idea what the top ceiling is of this program. A team that we all bought in, Illinois was universally bought in on. You know, everyone, I'm giving you credit. You said it in March. People started buying in around June.
Yeah, I like them.
There was another team, Johnny, that we all bought in so heavily on, and I don't think they deserve the few seconds I'm going to spend to talk about them. Clemson, down 16-0 against Troy, ends up coming back, and we gave some teams a lot of credit. Iowa State battling, getting a win. Clemson did that exact thing. They battled, and they figured out a way to get a win. But once you take a step back and say, good gracious, you guys were down 16-0 to Troy and had to put up historic numbers in the third and fourth quarter to get there.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed in myself for buying in on the offense because the only reason they won that game was how well the defense played. Like, I know they went down 16-0, but Cade Klubnik, he gets the ball tipped, throws a pick six on the 2-yard line. And then that second half, Clemson getting 3 picks kept them in that game. Like, they kept giving the ball back to the offense. But, no, I totally agree. That offense looks so clunky. If they don't figure it out this year, they're going to regret it because they have a top 5 defense. And you know how hard it is recruiting, like timing up when you have a good offense with a good defense or timing. It's so hard to get everything on the same level. And if they waste a defense of this caliber, they're going to regret it.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. And I can't figure it out if it's a Dabo thing. I think it falls back on a wide receiver thing. I think that a bad wide receiver core can absolutely debilitate a team. Georgia last year was a perfect example.
Penn State last year.
Penn State last year probably could have been a historic team, but simply could not get wide receivers going. And, you know, that's exactly what Clemson's problem is. But, you know, I think a lot of it falls on expectations. You know, there's a silly idea that, hey, a team that performed really good last year is returning simply their quarterback and a couple other key members will automatically be a really good team. And I don't think that analysts in media outlets are quick enough to say, hey, we were super wrong about the AP preseason poll. And I think currently Clemson is still in the top 25. No, they're 12.
Yeah.
You're telling me a team that's down 16-0 to Troy at half, after realistically, yes, they only lost by 7 to LSU, the number 4, number 3 ranked team in the AP poll. But you're telling me that team is a top 12 team. And what it pisses me off the most about the AP poll, do you know what the AP poll stands for?
I know it's Associated Press, but
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's absolutely preposterous. That's what AP poll stands for. Because it is. Do you know when back in the day when I failed a bunch of classes and then I tried retaking them, and then what ends up happening is they basically on your GPA they average out your grades. So if you get an A the second time and a D the first time, they average out to a B minus or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That's what the AP poll is doing. So they're saying, hey, you were a preseason top 3 team. You've slipped. You probably realistically 20 will average it out and say you're 12. But that couldn't be less of the case. I think it's disrespectful to other teams. It's disrespectful to everyone who watches this sport to say that Clemson's a top 12 team. You're saying right now, as it sits, according to the AP poll, they should be the 12th team in the playoffs. That's sickening.
You got to watch them play because, even go back to this game, like Troy. Me and my dad, we were watching this in the UNH Holy Cross tailgating lot. We had our range line, like, perfect. Let's watch the second half. And we got after it watching the game because what we started talking about, we started looking into Troy's stats, looking into the team, and we're like, Troy's a team that wants to run the ball. They want to run Trey Cooley. And they knew against Clemson that up front was going to be too much. And they just picked on Clemson's secondary in that first half. And I was like, what's going on? Usually Dabo's got some safeties. They got a star corner. I thought Avion Terrell was going to be better. Yeah. But this is a team that was like undersized, not enough talent compared to Clemson. And they were able just to figure out a way to score on a good defense. And give it to Goose Crowder, maybe first team all name. The quarterback for Troy, Goose Crowder. But you're right. Like, I have no idea what was going on with that team.
That's what makes me so annoyed about the AP poll, though, is like I could go down the list and I could argue with you about every single one of them. I think the top 6 are decent, but I do think that, like, people put so much emphasis on the preseason poll, and you would assume that the preseason AP poll is simply for fun, right? Like, hey, you're super bored in early August, you're just craving that first itch of football. That, hey, we're going to release this AP poll. But then they're so quick to forget that it was a preseason poll, right? Like, we're playing the games on the field. And, ranking Alabama in there, they should not be ranked. Teams like Florida State at 10. Florida State has arguably the top 3 best win in college football right now. And they're 2-0. Well, why are they not 5? What has Texas done?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's basing everything on potential, right? And then I could go down the list. We already talked about South Florida. I don't think we even talked about South Florida.
No, we haven't talked about them yet.
I'm not even going to jump into them yet, but Utah, Texas Tech, 20 and 21. That makes absolutely no sense. Dropping 60 points a game. Michigan, 1-1. They literally floundered through University of New Mexico and then got bodied by OU. What in the world makes you think that they're the 23rd ranked team in the country?
Yeah, no.
Florida State. Or excuse me, I didn't mean to say Florida State. South Carolina barely gets through Virginia Tech at a neutral site.
Yeah.
And then Vanderbilt goes and drops Virginia Tech like it owed its money. And Vanderbilt's not in the top 25. If Alabama did that, Vanderbilt would be, if Alabama was wearing if Vanderbilt was wearing Alabama clothes, they'd be ranked top 10.
100%. Yeah, it's a lot of bias in the AP poll, but
it just pisses me off.
We got some great games, including this week, that hopefully will sort that out a little bit.
Yeah. So moving on, Johnny, we have Kansas at Mizzou. I watched that game almost every single down. Oh, it was a fun game to watch, a rivalry. Oldest rivalry in college football, I heard. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the old. Yeah, it's probably. Yeah, if you heard that, you're probably right. I knew it's so old because I heard a fact that both states were on opposite sides of the Civil War. So when they played their first game in the 1800s in football, they had veterans from either side of the Civil War attending the game.
Oh my
That's
lord.
insane. But about that game, you're right.
That
That
was
was such a fun game. And I'm
yeah.
officially going to say on the podcast, I am a believer. Bo Pribula is a star. He's balled out both
Yeah.
games this season. He looks just super dynamic. I think Elijah Drinkwitz is a great coach, but like talk about like resilience. Like they went down 21-6 in that game so easy
Instantly.
after the fumble,
Instantly.
instantly, and they just kind of crawled back, and Drink has got a dynamic offense going right now. Bo Pribble like run it, throw it, whatever he needs to, and I don't know. We disagree. I think they have an easier SEC schedule than a lot of teams do. I think they are very alive for the playoff.
I want to see what they can do. I thought they played really, I think their meat and potatoes of the team is extremely high quality. I
Yeah,
think that their run game, their running back is a Heisman sleeper.
yeah.
Something Armand, I believe it is, or
I'll
his
look it up
first
while
name
you
might be
talk.
Armand. He is a stud, and I'm telling you, he's going to go off for 160 in a couple of big games, and then some.
Ahmad
Obviously,
Hardy.
yes, he's a stout running back. Very oh, who is he? He reminds you a lot of one of Bama's running backs when they had that like great 6-year stretch. But
Mm-hmm.
their offensive line is big and it's physical, and obviously Bo has a cannon. He's not afraid to step up into the pocket. He runs a little bit too much for my likings, but boy,
Yeah,
does he sit in the pocket. With that
right.
being said, I did think that Kansas was one or two plays away from competing
Yeah,
more in that game. They
yeah, they
kind
look
of blew
good.
that, that 4th and 1 play. How do you let that go? And I'm going to chop that up. They didn't have their two starting linebackers, right? They run a 4-2. They're missing both their inside guys. But, the
I,
physicality that Mizzou had in that first quarter, despite going down 21-6, is promising for SEC play.
I think they are very much alive, Kansas, even in the Big 12. Like very much alive in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they can keep Jalen Daniels
They're going
healthy.
to kill
Like
him, though. They're
I
going to
know they're
kill
gonna
him. He's
kill him.
going
I
to
know
score
they're gonna kill him. But if he could stay healthy, like he's Lance Leipold's guy, and
Yeah.
both of us are very high. We love Lance Leipold, so
Yeah.
like
We
I
do.
think if he can just that they can keep that quarterback healthy, that's a good team. That's everyone's alive in the Big 12, but them especially.
Do you think that USF is waking up and thinking to themselves, like, we got this. Like, we are him. It is just so gross. When you and I talked about it, I picked Florida in a few different of my parlays, and I'm genuinely embarrassed because I had a big one going. And there is such one of the things that I think my biggest downfall is that I get extreme bias. I was rooting for Florida. I think college football is better when Florida is better. I think that
Yeah,
football is better when
100%.
Ohio State and Penn State are better. LSU is better. Texas is better. Notre Dame is better. I think that it's just good for the sport, and that's what I was kind of rooting for a little bit. But I don't even know what to speak of. That was bad coaching. That's bad culture on Florida, right? I think that 37 or 38 yards of penalties in that final drive. USF could have scored a touchdown if they wanted to much sooner. They dominated the line of scrimmage, which has nothing to do with culture. That just is like, boy, are they recruiting well. But wow, what a bad game by Florida. DJ Lagway was supposed to be this guy from the clouds. You know that scene in Batman vs Superman where Superman's like hovering over that girl in the floods?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
DJ Lagway was to the swamp.
Yeah.
And dude can't play for hell.
Yeah, I was gonna say to you, I was gonna say before you said it, I think Florida has a DJ Lagway problem because going into the season, everyone was so high on him, and I know he's super young, and he put together some very exciting games last year, but we just haven't seen it this year. And but I don't want to disrespect South Florida's defense because that defense is so physical up front. That
Yeah,
D
they are.
line gets after you, and that's a very good Florida offensive line. Like Jake Slaughter is a first round pick at center.
Yeah.
And they got after DJ and they made everything hard. They struggled to run the ball. And I don't know. Like the thing about the confusing thing with you, not the confusing thing, but the crazy thing with USF is they have Miami this week. An
Yeah.
insane start to the season playing Boise, who is ranked, coming off a
Mhm.
playoff run, Florida, and then Miami. After that, like they're going into their conference schedule like we've already beaten the monster under the bed. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you guys have none of you guys have the talent we've faced already going into the season. Like, the level of quarterbacks have played, like 3 playoff quarterback. No, not Lagway. They didn't make the playoff last year, but 3 quarterbacks were people were high on this year. Like, I don't know.
No, you're spot on. What's even crazier is that the DraftKings Sportsbook still has Tulane as the best odds to win the AAC. So there's clearly something about Tulane that people are sleeping on. You know, I get a little bit concerned that USF is depending too much on their defense. They don't have the offensive dynamicy that I'm looking to see. But gosh, was I impressed with their front seven, both offensively and defensively, to compete with Florida. You know, what a shitty ass schedule to take a step back and say, hey, you guys have Boise, everyone's group of 5 pick. You guys dominated them by 4 touchdowns. Let's follow that up with you're heading to an in-state rival,
the Swamp
in Florida. And then we're going to follow that up with Miami. And you know what's crazy about it is that so they were 18.5-point underdogs. Big upset.
They are again this week.
They are again this week. If I told you, let's say Florida squeaks out a win, you and I talk about that a lot. Some of these flip games, how different the story of you and I's conversations in the seasons would be if somehow, some way, Florida gets a 6'10" nose guard who gets his arm up and he blocks the kick, right? And Florida wins, miraculous. Florida and Miami would be probably close to a pick 'em, if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm.
So like UCF beat them, right? My guess is Florida and Miami would be a pick 'em, and USF beat Florida and is still almost a 3 touchdown dog.
Yeah.
Disrespectful.
It's crazy. It's so disrespectful, and that's why I think that line is so alive. Like, even if they don't win, like, they're still 17.5. Like, they're very alive.
They need to basically take care of business in the AAC, and their resume is beefed up enough to where they don't have anything to be concerned about.
Totally.
Michigan OU, I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep during the second half. The game just could not hold me on. What I did see out of Michigan, I was incredibly disappointed in. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They have, just like Wisconsin a couple years ago, everyone knew exactly what you're going to get out of Wisconsin, like that 2015 to 18 range, where you're like, who was the head coach back then, Johnny? Do you remember when they had like Jonathan Taylor? They had
I see his face right now. Tom Allen was Indiana, Wisconsin football.
You know who I'm talking about. He's now, I believe, a coordinator in the NFL.
They had all those Rose Bowls. Was it Paul Christ?
Yes. Paul Christ. Yep. And you know, so that's what I was expecting by Michigan. Was the game that I was truly expecting from Michigan OU was very similar to Michigan USC last year. Do you remember that game at all, where USC was throwing it down Michigan's throw, and then Michigan would just drive down USC's, and it was just like back and forth, 2 completely different offenses, and then somehow Michigan pulls it out. They could not run the ball for hell. Their offensive line looked really, really bad. Bryce Underwood looked really, really bad.
Yeah.
I think Brett Venables' team still looks like that. I don't know how to describe it. They look not in unison. Like there are 11 different pieces. Yeah. They're missing that gravy, that sauce that kind of holds them together. But I was impressed by OU. I think OU is a good team. You know, people talked very highly about OU most likely going 6-6 this year, but being one of the best 6-6 teams we've seen in a long time. I don't think it's far off.
Yeah, no. My thoughts on the game, I was just very disappointed in Michigan's offensive line. I think that's something they've hung their hat on the past 5-10 years, is these studs up front, and they just don't have it this year. They also don't have like a key like possession wide receiver. Like when they won the national championship, Roman Wilson was kind of that guy. Before that, like Nico Collins was there. Like they usually have at least just one guy that, or even the tight end that's on the Bears I watched last Colton Loveland.
Yes.
Like, he was a big possession guy for them. Like they just don't have that guy that Bryce can rely on. But even if they did, Bryce Underwood looked very disappointing, and he can run, and they don't utilize his legs. I don't know if they just don't want to get him hurt, but like, I don't know. Going into Norman, 9 completions isn't going to win you the game. And so, like, no, I don't know.
I don't know what they seemed confused, like almost like you had a game plan, and then someone poured coffee all over your game plan, and you had to like come up with something off memory.
Well, besides the 75-yard Justice Haynes TD, which Justice Haynes is good. He's a stud.
Dog.
But besides that touchdown run, they had nothing else going offensively. Like nothing else worked the entire game. They got into field goal range like twice and kicked it. I don't know. But I don't want to take away from Oklahoma. I totally agree. I think Oklahoma is this is the best Brent Venables Oklahoma team he's had. John Mateer is a dog. He makes big plays. He's also played 1 million college football games. And I think you saw that against a young quarterback like him. He was just, I don't know, he's making the safe plays. He knew what risks to take. I also think Deion Burks, the guy he kept throwing to, he's a stud. You'll see him on Sundays next year. But I don't know. I totally agree. Like I think this Oklahoma team is good, but I think they're going to get beat up in the SEC just because how hard that in-season schedule is.
I can see them having the same path as like Florida or South Carolina last year, where everyone was like, "Yeah, it's a really good team," but they just can't seem to cross that threshold and get to 10-2 and make the playoff.
Yeah,
I do think that there are some things missing. Before we jump into next week's games, I want to just take a second to read the AP poll. For those who are listening, you're probably thinking, Patch, move on. I can't because I think it's that silly. And so we have, I'm just going to go in order here: Ohio State, Penn State, LSU, Oregon, Miami, Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, Illinois at 9, Florida State at 10, South Carolina, Clemson at 12, Oklahoma, Iowa State, Tennessee, A&M, Ole Miss at 17, South Florida at 18, Bama at 19 at 1-1, Utah, Texas Tech, Indiana, Michigan, Auburn, Mizzou. Some teams that have gotten votes: Arizona State, BYU, GT, Florida, Southern Cal, TCU, Mississippi State, Louisville, SMU, Nebraska, Tulane, Baylor, UNLV, Pittsburgh, Navy, Memphis, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt got one vote being the AP top 25.
Yeah,
They just smoked Virginia Tech, a team that took a special teams heroic effort for South Carolina. South Carolina is our number 11 rank. And the reason I just want to go over this is that like we have a lot of these matchups this week, right? Like South Florida is heading to number 5 Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's playing number 15 Tennessee. And Notre Dame's playing A&M. All some really, really good games, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that these AP rankings, even like, why even come out with them? You know what I mean?
It's for this, so we argue about it.
Yeah, no, they know exactly what they're doing. But
yeah,
I had to get that off my chest because I just disagree with it so much, and it just bothers me so much. So, Johnny, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games that I want to go over, and I'm going to read them to you here just quickly, and then we'll dive into them a little bit deeper.
Okay.
We have side note, I want to get this out there. Who is going to be fired first, Mike Gundy or Billy Napier?
That was going to be in my winners and losers of the week is Gundy's. They're not going to fight.
Then hold on, because that was
it's Napier. I think Napier, because I think Gundy's such a legend that they're going to let him kind of like finish the season and like shake his hand. Thank you for all your time. Napier, they want to kill him. The Florida boosters. They think about what they
outside the stadium.
No, but think about what they did to Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen had one bad season after like getting to an SEC championship game, after getting to BCS bowl games, and they ran him out of town. What are they going to do to Billy Napier for losing USF?
No, I have no idea. So we have this week, we have Colorado is playing Houston. Houston's a 5.5 point favorite. I included that because both, I think, are very sneaky teams. Clemson is minus 3.5 against Georgia Tech. For the record, these next two opened up at 7.5, but are now currently 3.5. So people hammer the underdog, which is never a good sign. Clemson is 3.5 against Georgia Tech. Georgia is 3.5 against Tennessee. USC is minus 21 against Purdue. USF is a 18.5 point underdog against Miami. Notre Dame is a 7 point favorite against A&M. Florida is heading to LSU, where they're a 7 point dog. Vandy is heading to South Carolina, where they're a 5.5 point dog. And Duke and Tulane is practically a pick 'em at 0.5 points.
Good slate. A lot of good football.
Very good slate. A lot of football. Do you know where College Game Day is off the top of your head?
No, I don't. But looking at it, it's got to be what?
My guess is Georgia, Tennessee.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could also see Notre Dame.
Be cool. So, Colorado versus Houston. I don't know a whole lot about Houston, but I do know that they have some talented offensive players, some good scheme. I do think that Colorado is going to be reeling a little bit following a tough game last week and obviously a big loss in week 1 against Georgia Tech. I'm going to take Houston in this 5.5 point favorite here, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm taking Houston too. I want to also shout out our guy Ryan Carty, coach of Delaware at UNH guy. That was a 10-7 game at the half.
Yeah,
Like they were,
he knows what he's doing.
they were so alive in that game. Obviously, they just didn't really have the talent to match him in the second. Also, what's up with the whole quarterback situation? Like they for
Now they're going
Colorado,
to
like
that transfer or the 5-star
third
freshman.
string Staub. No. They
Oh,
skipped that kid. Yeah. His name's like Ryan Staub. No, Matthew Staub. So they Caden Salter transferred from Liberty. He started the season. Then,
yeah.
but he battled all camp with Julian Lewis, who's the 5-star. But both haven't looked great, and they're going to Staub. He
Wow.
started.
They got to have something offensively that they have planned for him that the other two just lack because they're
I know.
that's just Dean's also a little bit of a psycho. So
I'm going Houston just because you're right. Colorado hasn't looked good. They kind of blew it against Georgia Tech. They didn't use any of their timeouts, and then they didn't really impress me against Delaware. And I think this Houston team had two like kind of blowout wins. I think they've got a lot of momentum going in.
Yeah,
They
they were super low to win their conference, and I think that put a little bit of fuel onto them. I do that. They think that this is a 8-win Houston team, if not better. Moving on to some of the key matchups here: Clemson playing Georgia Tech, very very tough ACC matchup. Clemson was a huge favorite early on, and not only early on in the week, but early on in the ACC race. And they're still the favorite at plus 250, Johnny.
Yeah, it's crazy. The defense is so good, but offensively, yeah.
I think their defense is good, but I think it'll crack. But I think that the problem with this is a lot of things. Is that one, there's got to be something I'm missing to have Clemson still as the favorite. There are 2, maybe 3 teams in the ACC that I think are legitimately better than Clemson. In Florida State, Miami, I have no idea why neither of those teams are ranked higher than Clemson in terms of the both the AP poll and their DraftKings rankings. But Clemson, I love Georgia Tech at plus 7.5. That was the juiciest thing on earth. I couldn't wait to get money on that, and I think everyone was in the same boat. At 3.5, I'm much more hesitant because we need some things to go Georgia Tech's ways. Haynes King, really, really good football player. When the whole offense depends on him, it's a little bit easier to scheme, something that Dabo Swinney has a lot of experience with.
Yeah.
3.5 is just too little. But with that being said, I'm going to take Georgia Tech just because I think that Clemson, I'm praying on their downfall. I hope they get exposed this week because I don't want them to get too far down the season where they start to be a legitimate top 8 team and, with their only loss to LSU. So I need them to get out of conversation until they prove otherwise. So I'm going with Georgia Tech here, not only with the upset, but with the win.
This pains me to say, but I'm going Clemson. I really like Haynes. I love Haynes King. That dude's a winner. I do think every time he steps on the field, he's going to get his head taken off just because he's not afraid of contact, and sometimes it costs him. And as much as I don't like Clemson this season, I just think they just more talented, especially just defensively. I think they'll be able to score. It's not going to be a shootout with that Clemson defense, and I think Cade can just do enough. I also think they've got everyone and their mother just ripping them for that Troy performance that I think they're going to come out firing. And I think this is you're going to get a good Clemson game. But I am rooting for Tech. I like GT.
Yeah, I could see this game getting away from Georgia Tech a little bit. I think that if anything, Georgia Tech needs to eliminate any kind of turnover battle and even possibly win the turnover battle, which
they can't
will be
make
hard.
a mistake. They can't make.
We have Georgia. Georgia is heading to Tennessee, correct? That was
Knoxville, baby, Rocky Top.
That's going to be such a crazy environment.
So
what I have seen from Tennessee is the best Tennessee that I've seen under Josh Heupel.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he truly has the boys rolling. I love their offensive scheme. I love that new quarterback. I love their offensive line. And I think their defense is doing good things. Obviously, they're not battle tested, but either is Georgia.
Yeah. I'm going Tennessee. I love Joey Aguilar. They transferred from App State. I think he looks great in that offense. I said it earlier, like a couple weeks ago. I think he had the perfect situation fall in his lap. Nico had the reins. He had the keys to the car. He left. Joey kind of just fell into that spot, and he's just absolutely balling out in that Josh Heupel offense. I'm a little worried about them defensively, but I don't trust Gunnar Stockton in that Georgia offense. They just don't look the same. They don't really have the run game that they always rely on, and they don't have a George Pickens on the outside. So I like Tennessee. I think it might be a shootout. I think it's going to be a shootout with Tennessee's defense. But I trust Joey Aguilera way more than Gunnar Stockton.
It's interesting because in most recent memory, I always felt like Georgia and Bama could score at ease whenever they freaking wanted to. They could put together a 6-yard, 60-drive touchdown. I don't think Georgia's that anymore. We saw it against Notre Dame a little bit. We're still not seeing it this week, or excuse me, last week. They barely put up 30 points. I don't think they put up 30 points against really sub-inferior teams. I love Tennessee in this spot. I think that they're better than you're making it out to be defensively. And I don't think they really have to do that much to beat Georgia. I don't think anyone besides LSU is that overpowered in terms of the offense. I think the Big Ten dominates the offense, and the Big 12 dominates the offensive side of football right now. SEC, I think, is lacking something. I don't know if it's wide receiver talent, if it's schemes. I don't know what it is, or is it just the year of the defense? But I think that Tennessee not only wins this game. I'm going to throw this out there. That's my Cheesecake Factory pick of the week at 3.5. Obviously rounds down to 3 when they win. But if you'll let me, I'll even stretch it out to 7. I think they win by 7.
That was mine, dude. I had
a feeling by your confidence that was yours.
I have the shirt right here.
Jesus.
I have it. Yeah, I went to Nashville last year. It's a good day to be a Vol. I had that.
That is a dope shirt.
I had Rocky Top all queued up on my phone. Oh. Oh, that's yeah.
That's tough. Well,
it's all good. I think they're gonna win. I'm high on them. It's a great day to be a Vol. I'll let you have the cheesecake pick of the week, but
versus Purdue. This is not a Big Ten matchup that really matters. I don't think that this is even going to be a close game. But the reason I wanted to talk about this game is a little bit is you and I both really like, me in particular, the All-State Playoff Predictor. What they do is they basically take the top 3 games remaining on the schedule and they determine what are the top 24 odds to make the playoff. And a lot of them are as you would expect. Ohio State's at 83%, Oregon's at 81%, Texas 65%, Georgia 63%, Ole Miss at 61%, which I think is a little bit high. We have teams like Penn State at 55%, which I think is low. You're talking that's a coin flip to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's 100% over here in Salem, Mass. No,
there's no chance in this playoffs. But the reason I wanted to include USC Purdue is that we are sitting here on the All-State Playoff Predictor as of September, 60% chance of making the playoff, higher than Penn State, which is crazy. And if you take a step back and look at who they have on their schedule, right? They're at Illinois, really tough spot in terms of that's Illinois is probably their biggest game. Then they go at Notre Dame, then they're at Oregon. Realistically, they could drop all 3. I don't think they do. I think they either win Illinois or they win Notre Dame. Let's say they win against Illinois, drop Notre Dame, drop Oregon for both you and I's sake, right? They don't make the conference championship. This is all features of the All-State Playoff Predictor. If that's the case, if they lose to Notre Dame and lose to Oregon and beat USC, they have an 85% chance to win the playoff.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Their schedule is so favorable.
Favorable. Originally we thought that spot in Iowa was tough. I don't think that anymore. And I like to look at value to make the playoffs when I refer back to my DraftKings bets. And there's some other ones in here, Johnny, that I just want to throw at you and still have incredible value. Utah is 28% chance to make the playoff.
I like Utah.
That's disrespectful.
I will be a hater. I don't love USC because I don't think they beat Illinois, Notre Dame, and Oregon. I think
you think they go 0-3 in those games?
I think they definitely lose to Oregon, and then Illinois looked so good last week. I'm excited to see what Notre Dame looks like this week, but I don't know. That's a hard 3-game stretch. And
It's crazy because Notre Dame is down to a 25% chance to make the playoffs, which is crazy because they were at 65% right after the Miami game. And it goes to show how other teams' playoff potential can influence your team. So Notre Dame, for instance, 25% chance. They have tough games against A&M this week, Arkansas in 2 weeks, and then USC. Right now, they are a slight favorite against Arkansas. They have a 55% chance of winning, according to this website. And right now, USC and Notre Dame is a coin flip. I think they go 3-0 in all those games. Obviously, huge Notre Dame fan. We're going to win the Natty this year. But with that being said, we have a 99% chance to make the playoffs. If I think our biggest test is USC. I'm not afraid of Arkansas. And I'm certainly not afraid of A&M at home. We are one of the best teams in college football. But going back to USC, I just think it's incredibly important in terms of USC to win these games, just like Florida. If Florida wanted any chance to win, if they wanted any chance to get into the playoffs, they had to beat their out-of-conference non-SEC games, and they're already 0-1 in one of them. The other one is Miami. Two incredibly tough teams. I'm hoping Purdue gets this done. -21. I think that spread should be closer to 35. Give me all that.
Yeah, I'm riding with you there. That it's too much. It's not enough.
No, it's not.
Not
Then we have
Purdue.
USF, third tough game in a row. Beat number 25 Boise State, beat number 8 Florida, now heading to number 5 Miami. They're currently an 18.5-point underdog against Miami. I think there is a large difference between Miami and Florida. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, Miami looked so good against Notre Dame.
Okay. Yeah, I think Miami is light years ahead of Florida right now. So this spread is incorporating the fact that USF won. It's incorporating the fact that they're 2-0. It's a tough spot. I think that spread is way too high. I think that this is probably another 21-14 or 21-10 game. I got to take USF in the points here at 18.5. It's not going to be an upset. I do think that Miami beats USF on the line of scrimmage, but this is a test for Miami.
Yeah, 100% it is. Like, no one's riding higher than USF right now. And going to that conference schedule, like, if they get this win, man, they're you could book them in the playoff. And I said what I wanted to say about their defense. I really like their defense. I really like Byron Brown. I think he's a good quarterback. And going into the picks, I already picked Clemson, and then I had the shirt. I had Rocky Top. It was all set to go. So you know what? Go Bulls. Let's go. Cheesecake Factory pick of the week. Let's go USF. I'm putting my foot on the throat right now. 18.5 points. Give it to me.
If you win this, I'm going to wave the white flag and we're going to start over.
Okay, that's fair. I
don't know. If Alex Polish wins this game and goes on to win the AAC, does he get the number 1 job in the nation next year?
He gets a great job. He gets a great job. Oh, yeah, he could go to Florida. That would be kind of weird after beating him. But crazier things have happened. But I don't know. Realistic, I'm going to pick them, especially with that spread. I'm going to pick them cheesecake. But with that spread, like, I think it's way closer than that. I am really high on this Miami team. So I could see them.
I'm gonna switch, Johnny, just for the fun of it. I think that this Miami team really has the chance to be the number 1 team in the nation after this win. I think that this team is really, really talented. I talked about the meat and potatoes of, I think it was Oklahoma that I was talking a little bit about, just making something up. But I really do love Miami's run game. I like their wide receiver core starting to come into play. Carson Beck looked really good, but I just
offensive line so good.
Yeah, offensive line. I like their defensive line even more. They're number 11. He's from Louisiana Tech. He's like 316, 318 pounds.
Yeah.
I always watch for a good DT. That kid is a talented, incredible bend, good flexibility. They also have 2 DNs who realistically, if they play out, could be first rounders this year. I'm drawing a blank on their names, but both were injured last year. They got the sack against Notre Dame to end the game. They were remarkable.
I think it's Bain, the guy who got the pick on the that was great hustle against when CJ Carr threw the screen and got kicked in the air. Yeah, that guy Bain Jr., that guy's awesome. Ruben Bain, I think. That's what it is.
Yeah. You're really, really talented D-line, and that's what I'm excited to see. I'm going to take Miami, convince myself off that a little bit. I'm not going to bet. There's only a couple games that I actually like in terms of throwing some cash down. Clemson, Georgia Tech, I wouldn't touch with a 20-foot pole. That game is going to be ugly. It's going to be gritty. It's going to come down to a fumble. I already know it. Georgia, Tennessee, I am going to bet that one. I do love Tennessee here. But going to my Fighting Irish.
How do we feel?
We are in a tough spot.
This is a dog fight.
I've done a lot of soul searching after Miami, right? I screamed in my pillow. I went for a walk. I raked some leaves. And after coming down from my redness in my face and my true upset that we lost to Miami, we're like 0-6 against Miami, down in Miami in the last 10 or 15 years. I'm going to take some positives out of it. CJ Carr looked. Oh, you shut up. CJ Carr looked good.
He did. Yeah, he looked good.
He looked good. Our offensive line looked like trash, but it also looked like trash at points last year. So we'll get there.
Yeah.
But, it all comes down to, are we going to run the ball?
I think it's coaching. Like, you guys have the talent. And Malachi Fields is awesome wide receiver. But he's another guy. Set Jeremiah Love to the side. You didn't even try to get Malachi Fields, this guy you're paying a ton of money from to come over from Virginia. Give him the ball. And then even your backup running back, what's it, Jadavion Prince?
Jadavion.
Price, sorry. He kind of rode him a little in the first half, went away from it, and then just kind of refused to give Love the ball. So I think it's a coaching thing.
I think we have really talented wide receivers. There's no reason we need to be running the bubble screens that we have. Lean on the RPOs, lean on the different types of play actions, get these guys across the middle of the field. I don't see how Notre Dame drops this game. It kind of goes into effect that we have such an easy schedule, all in all, that if Notre Dame doesn't have some convincing wins, we are going to drop tremendously when the playoff committee comes out with their rankings.
Yeah. What's the spread on this? It's 7?
7.5, which is gross.
Yeah, no. I think Notre Dame wins this game, but I do not like them at 7.5. I think Marcel Reed is a handful. I think he's a tremendous quarterback. It's really hard to game plan against a guy like him, especially what he can do with his legs. I think he keeps – and I love Mike Elko. I think Mike Elko is a great coach. I think what he did at Duke was awesome. I think Mike Elko and Marcel Reed keep Texas A&M in the game, and I think it's probably like a – I don't know, 21-17 or like a 27-24 Notre Dame win. So I'll take Texas A&M with the points, but I'm prepared for Notre Dame to win this game, especially at home.
I think Notre Dame has the physicality on defense. Obviously our defensive line is subpar. That has been well established. Our defensive line and our left tackle need some work to do, but I don't think that A&M will have the running attack that they need to dominate the line of scrimmage. That's why I'm picking Notre Dame, is I don't think it'll be hard to get turnovers against the pass game in their quarterback. But I'm also a fan. So, being a fan adds 2 or 3 points. Florida versus LSU, a game that I was extremely, extremely excited for 72 hours ago before the USF win. I thought Florida was going to take the corner, head into SEC play, and possibly upset the number 2 or 3 team in the country in LSU. Obviously, this line is now inflated due to them dropping that game. But
before you make your pick, can I just ask you a question? Because right now I'm so down on Florida, obviously, and I'm going to ride with LSU. I think they're going to kind of kill them. But do you put any credence or any emphasis on a guy like he's coaching for his life right now? Do you put any weight on Billy Napier going in the locker room being like, hey, if we don't win this game, we're all fired. You guys are probably transferring. We're screwed. Do you see that? I don't, but do you see it happening at all?
I don't either, just because you can't turn around an entire locker room in 5 days, right?
Yeah,
like they travel Sunday, they have Monday off, and they come back Tuesday for a tough practice. And you can't teach culture and discipline in the small things in 4 days worth of practice. LSU has been building towards this season for a long time, and I'm a huge proponent. You mentioned it earlier, and I said this about 12-0 or 13-0 FSU, is that they were building towards that 12-0 team for many, many years. And that's why I picked them to beat LSU in the opening weekend. They dominated LSU. I think that situation is here with LSU, that they've been building. They have all the puzzle pieces in front of them. They just need to put them together. I think Florida's going to be a little bit of a runaway train. It's not like I saw anything out of Florida in the first 2 weeks they opened up with Long Island University and then had USF.
Yep.
There's nothing against Long Island University, a team that UNH would probably beat by 25, that I saw and was like, dear God, this Florida team is legit. And then on top of that, there was nothing positive that I can come to say after that USF game. And because of that, I'm going to take LSU in the 7.5. I think that this LSU team has the defense to compete where they need to compete, and they have an offense that will be the best in the SEC. I think it'll be better than Texas. I think it'll be better than Bama. I think this LSU team is really, really legit. You and I talked about it. I think LSU is our SEC winner for conference championships. I don't think this game is all that close.
Yeah, no, I think LSU runs away with it. Everything you said, like that offense is like nuts, man. No one drives the bus like him. And then Whit Weeks and Hal Perkins are beasts at linebacker for them. I think they run away with this. I think Florida's a defeated team. I think Billy Napier's fired soon, and I think everyone in the building can sense it. So I think
What
LSU
happens
kind
if
of
they
runs
win?
away. Is his job back? Is it back? Is he back?
Everyone said it was back last year, and everyone was like, "Oh, the seat has cooled off." You know, the dude's sitting on a bucket of ice at this point. But like, they lose one game, and in the pitchforks and the torches have been relit just like that.
Yeah, I don't know if this win saves him. I think just an unbelievable run in the SEC schedule. Like if he wins this, avoids getting fired, and then kind of goes on a run, maybe. But I don't know.
You don't
I
think
think they
this
get
game alone?
no.
Do you
I
think
don't.
that if Florida wins this game, they're a top 10 team?
If Florida wins this game, they're a top 10 team. No, I think it kind of matters what happens in USF Miami. I think that holds some weight. I think that like
Yeah.
if USF plays Miami close, then you could argue like, hey, USF's a good team, Miami's a good team. Well, Florida might be a good team, but I don't know. We'll see how they look this weekend. Is that all your? I want to add one game. We don't have to pick it. I just want to mention.
We still got two more to go.
Okay. I'll add it at the end then.
We have Vandy versus South Carolina and Duke versus Tulane.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been said yet. So let's go with South Carolina game.
I'm picking just right off the bat. I'm picking Vandy here. South Carolina has done nothing to impress me. I think that Vanderbilt has a gritty team. Their tight end is extremely talented. Obviously, Diego Pavia is a dog. I don't see like I said, I'm not looking at South Carolina. Excuse me. I'm not looking at Vanderbilt and saying they've done stuff that's beaten the brakes off me and has impressed me to the high heavens. But South Carolina has done absolutely nothing to impress me. And they're in the same place as LSU. They've been building towards this season, arguably two of the most talented athletes in college football with Dylan Stewart at the end and Lenore Sellers at quarterback. Both are underperforming this year. When top tier talent underperforms, you got to blame the coaching staff. There's something going on there.
Yeah, no. What's kind of really surprised me is how much Lenore Sellers has struggled outside the pocket. Like if he has a clean pocket, man, that kid has a great arm. But every time he kind of gets a little pressure, he can run. But if he can't, he's really struggling to run on the flow. Throw on the run, and I think that kind of is going to cost him. And I also think Diego Pavia has been in a million SEC games, and I think he'll just pull another one out.
Yeah, really good one. Real quick, I like the Duke versus Tulane game. I don't know much about Tulane. I know that they're, we mentioned it. They're obviously favorites to win.
That's laugh. It's the BYU
AAC
quarterback from last year.
Is it really?
BYU. And now they're calling it Julane.
Oh.
Yeah. He had a weird exit at BYU, but we don't need to get into that. But
no, we don't talk about that stuff, Johnny. We keep it PG for our listeners. I like this game because Duke is in a really tough spot, kind of getting annihilated by Illinois, and then Tulane's in a tough spot because they're battling for the AAC. I would assume that they would be bigger favorites in this situation. I think that this is a pretty easy bet. I love Tulane in this spot.
Me too. I really like Tulane.
What's the game you want to talk about, Johnny?
We don't need to pick it, but I just want to say that Pitt, West Virginia's this weekend. Yes. That's an all-time rivalry. Like those teams hate each other. The backyard brawl. West Virginia is pretty bad this year. Like I think Rich Rod, the homecoming, he'll do good there in a couple of years. But they lost to Ohio last week. It's Pitt -7. Narduzzi's got Pitt going. I think Pitt's going to roll them. But I just wanted to say that's a classic college football rivalry. Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be super gritty. I think the defense is going to be, pretty outstanding in both of them. It's low scoring. I would take the under on that one.
Yeah. Okay. So before
please go ahead and do some winners and losers of week 2 college football.
Okay. Winners. Nepo babies. Nico Gramatica hit the game-winning kick for USF, son of Super Bowl champion and also kicker Martin Gramatica. I thought that was sick. And then my last winner was Klanga, Mississippi State. gritty win. Like it's been very dark times ever since Mike Leach passed while coaching them. Like legend of the game, Mike Leach. Can't say enough about that guy. They had some dark times, and Kenny Dillingham in Arizona State, a lot of momentum. People saying Sam Levitt's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And they talked some shit. They said like Starkville,
Yeah.
where Mississippi State at's nothing there. They made fun of it. And then Mississippi State gets out to a lead, and they protected the house. 80-yard bomb to win the game. Cowbells
That
are
play was
ringing.
crazy. Yeah, Brandon
And then,
Walker's screaming right now from
oh,
unnecessary
it's
roughness.
so
His
sick.
team,
Yeah.
that was a really gritty win. I love the head coach from Mississippi State. I think that Mississippi State is on the up and rise, but their ceiling has got to be low. I don't see how they could out recruit some of the other teams in the SEC.
Okay, then a couple losers. Let me know what you think about these. My first one's legacy coaches, Gundy and Kirk Ferentz. I think both these guys have. We didn't talk about that Oklahoma State game, but like, 69-3. Oklahoma State scored on their two of their first three plays from scrimmage. Like, what do you do if you're Oklahoma State, Pat? That's one to ask. Like, I think Gundy has a lifetime contract. What?
I think what you do is you put a statue in front of the stadium and you say thank you for everything you've done. You get the best statue on earth, made out of bronze. It's huge. You name a parking lot after him, the front gates out of after him, and you say, what is it going to take to get you out of this door? Because we're going to make it incredibly uncomfortable for you to stay. You got to move on. He is come and he is gone. It's not that we have seen ebbs and flows in the last 2 years. It's just been disappointing. Last year they were picked by some people, me in particular, to win the Big 12 at points. They underperformed. They were supposed to have a Heisman caliber, and Ollie Gordon underperformed. That team's terrible. He's had some issues with the media. He's had some issues with other coaches. I don't see a world in which they can keep him much past October.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That was just
and the same goes with Kirk. They've tried everything in their mothers to generate some kind of consistent offense by saying, hey, we get to pick your offensive coordinator, which he agreed. Then they had his son at offensive coordinator, and he got fined for every game under 20 points or whatever it may have been.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like nothing's going to work. And it's very hard for me to believe someone as detail-minded and as great of a coach and someone who looks at film, right? All football is you and I have a drill against each other, right? One-on-ones.
Yeah.
And I absolutely toast you on routes, which sounds real. Is then they go and watch the film and they review it. Oh, this needs to be better. That needs to be better. You're telling me Kirk Ferentz can't look at himself internally and say, I need to be better on offense. We need to be better on offense. It just doesn't make any sense to me that you can have consistently such bad offensive production with good offensive talent.
No, it's crazy because you see the tight ends they put in the league. Noah Fant, Kittle, offensive lineman, running backs, Caleb Johnson. And it's like, it's kind of going back to what I was talking about Illinois, like developing quarterbacks. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of like buying it, like leasing. It's like leasing a quarterback for 1 year. Like they did it with Kid McNamara. It didn't work out. They tried to get Gronowski, who had an unbelievable career at South Dakota State in the FCS. He threw for 80 yards last week. Like you knew when first of all, big props Iowa State's kicker hitting like a 60-yarder for the win there. But you knew when that like Iowa offense had to run the 2-minute drill going like to win the game. I was like, there's no chance. There's simply no way. Like I don't know. So that's why he's on the losers of the week. Another loser.
Just real quick, Johnny, back on that. It just blows my mind. It's like you can't get lower than where they are. Right. And I've always been a big proponent of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Why not go and get the most risky offensive coordinator from a D2 school that's dropping 85 points a game and saying, if it doesn't work, we're in the same boat. Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Totally agree. Another loser, JMU, like losing to Louisville. Like this was their only big like resume game in a world where people are so high on the Tulanes and the USFs. And like if JMU went out and won that game and went to the conference schedule being like, hey, we just beat Miller Moss and Louisville. Like that was kind of a chip in their cap. But I don't know. I think it's going to be tough for them to make the play. This was a team a lot of people had playoff aspirations for. So I think the rest of the way is pretty challenging for them.
It's such BS though if you take a step back and say, "Oh, these teams need to beat Louisville to make the playoff."
Yeah, no, it is totally
agree. That's ridiculous. But I do agree. I think Jeff Brom is a very gritty team. I also think Jeff Brom is a type of coach that plays down and plays up. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
no, so he plays down to town and he plays up to town. I think Miller Moss is a really good quarterback. He just hasn't shown it in the first couple games. I think he had 2-2 the first game of the year, 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. But I do think that Louisville is a really, really sneaky team in the ACC, and I think they might ruin some seasons this year. But I'm with you. I thought that JMU was in a good position to make the playoff and possibly win against Louisville, but they just couldn't get the job done. But they competed really hard. I got to give them credit on that one.
Yeah, they did. My second loser is another Virginia team, Virginia Tech. They were up 20-10 at the half, 34-0 run to Vandy. Like, I know Diego Pavia is a winner, and I think he's going to win this week, but man, 34-0 run is like, come on. I don't know.
You got to figure out a way to stop the truck. You know, you got to figure something out in that situation. That was unfortunate. Those wheels have continued to spin with Virginia Tech, a team that we thought was gritty is quite on the contrary. Like you said, though, I am excited for Vanderbilt at South Carolina. This is going to be a crazy week.
Yes, you want to do your parlay?
Yeah, so my parlay currently is sitting at plus 647. You bet $10, you will win $74.70. I love Houston money line against Colorado. I think Colorado is in a tough situation. I think they're in a weird situation. I don't know if they cover the 5. That's why I picked the money line. I think they're minus 238. I love USC 21 at 21. Love USC at 21. I think that if you were concerned, you could drop that down to 18 or even 20, and you're in a fine position. Gotta take my Fighting Irish. I think they win this game. Give me the money line, and then finally give me LSU at minus 7.5. To be honest, I'd probably move that down to 7, maybe even 6.5. Lose a couple points here and there. Probably would drop it down to 6-1. But I think this 4-leg parlay has some legs to it.
Awesome, I love it. My theme of my parlay is home dogs. Got to protect your house. I got 3 picks. It's plus 578. You bet 10, you win 67. Georgia Tech, minus 3.5 against Clemson. Come on, let's go. Haynes King, don't get killed, but win this game.
Come on, Yellow Jackets.
Then you got Tennessee minus plus 3.5 against Georgia. Rocky Top, you stole the pick from me. Let's go, Knoxville. And then finally, Tulane, defend the house against Duke. Plus 1.5 at home. Three home underdogs. Plus 578. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's juicy. And then moving on to a parlay, any of our true listeners who have stayed this hour and 5 minutes into it deserve that respect. Our future. They do. They deserve a lot of respect. We're very thankful for all of our listeners. But I want to share something with you, and I would love if you guys commented below. Johnny and I have schemed a parlay that we love. And Johnny, when you and I refer to bets, we refer to them only exclusively on value, right? Yeah. If the value is not there, but the likelihood of it happening, it doesn't make any sense for us to put up our hard-earned money. But if the likelihood is sort of there and the value is through the roof, would you like to go ahead and read it? We have 3 conference champions. I don't see how this loses. I would even throw in a 4th conference winner if we really wanted to really spice up the pot. But I'll just go ahead. We have Utah winning the Big 12.
Yep.
I think they're currently plus 550. We have LSU winning the SEC. Do you remember what they were at the top of your head when we put it in?
No, I can check though. You keep going.
It was LSU, Utah, and who am I missing, Johnny?
ACC Miami.
Oh, I don't see a world. Obviously, this is a tough situation. I think Miami's in Miami or FSU. Both are extremely juicy. If you like one or the other, flip them. But it is not Clemson. I don't think it's.
LSU was plus 500. Utah was plus 450, and then Miami was plus 250. So it came out plus.
Get those bets in to our listeners. Get those bets in before kickoff on Thursday night, which I believe is Colorado and Houston. This pays, Johnny. What does 10 pay? I think it was 1,300.
Yeah, it was like something like that. Yeah.
This is a super juicy parlay. I think in the Big 12, it is a two team race, right? Texas Tech and Utah. Both are going to battle for it. One of them will drop a game, but still will win the conference. I do think truly LSU is the best team in the SEC. I think Texas has some mishaps, and those will get exposed as the season gets going. I think LSU is only going to get better, while Texas kind of ebbs and flows. You can't ebb and flow in the SEC. And in Miami, like I said, Miami or Florida State, if you are super risky, go Florida State. Do not go with Clemson. Do not go with any other team besides Miami or Florida State. That is insane value. I'm thinking about putting, 1,000 on there to win 130,000. I just haven't decided yet.
Yeah, I love it, Patch. I love it. I think we got some good stuff cooking this week. Excited to watch some college football.
Oh, I can't wait. Tuesday and Wednesday until Maction is up are the worst days of the week. Get me to Thursday night.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Awesome. Johnny, I'll see you later.
See ya.